going on, man? Hey, at least it ain't raining this time.
Yeah.
All right, y'all, so we got old Bessie back here finally from the shop, and I had called them at one point in time and asked about the status of it, and they said, well, your front axle is all over the shop floor, so they had to take the entire front axle apart. And you can tell by looking here at this fresh seal on here. I noticed there were some new boots on these fittings on the other side, and in fact it was this entire, I called it a differential. Technically it's a pinion. It allows the axle to move independently on either side, certainly so you tires rotate evenly when you're making a turn. But that gear, there's a spiral gear in there that was bad, and the pinion and such, so they replaced all of it under warranty. And the one thing the warranty did not cover, and I would contest that it really is not my responsibility to pay if something on the tractor breaks that should not have broken and is covered under warranty, and that was the mileage getting this thing to and from the shop. It cost me, I don't know, 250 bucks, 280 bucks, something like that, to get this thing hauled in there and then back. And I would contest that if something goes out under warranty and they're responsible to fix it, they should also be responsible for the mileage, but they didn't pay it. I disagree, but what are you gonna do? So, tractor is back. Alright, y'all, so battery died, camera died. Here's the trick to this thing. You want just enough plastic on here to cover it, and not so much that you can't get it back in the container here, right? If you've got too much plastic poofing out on the sides here, it's not going to go back in here very easily. I mean, you can force it. I've done it, but it's not easy to work with, right? So trim off the excess, and you want just enough tape on here to hold the plastic in place while you slide it back in there. The tape will disintegrate in no time flat out here in the UV rays, but that's not what holds it, right? Once you get it slid in here, this frame here is what holds the plastic in. And I've had some of these totes wrapped for 3 years now, and there is zero sign of degradation in them. And if they do degrade, it's like 20 bucks for a sheet of this stuff at Lowe's. So it's super cheap and easy to replace. A lot of people will paint these IBC totes, and of course what happens is the paint just bakes in the sun and peels off, and you're left with a shoddy job. So I went with this black plastic, And you can see about the only place it's exposed is right here at the neck. Even with this flap, you know, that protects it too. And then a little bit down here around the spigot, but it is recessed so far that it's pretty much in the shade all the time anyways. It'll get some indirect sunlight, but between that little bit there and just this little bit up here, you're not gonna get any growth in there at all. And that's it, y'all. It took me about 10 minutes to wrap that tank. Super easy. Now you can buy covers for these things. What's his name? Jason at Sow the Land. Yeah, Jason at Sow the Land has got a cover that goes on the outside. I do like that because it allows you to just kind of unzip it and you can see how much water you have in there. That's the only downside with this is really sort of unscrewing the top up here and looking down in there or sticking your hand down in there. You don't really know how much water is in there. You can tell by shaking it if there's water in it. You just don't really know how much unless you measure it from looking down in there. Maybe you put a stick down in there to measure it. But the outside cover will allow you to just zip it up here and take a look and see how much water you've got. I do like that. What I don't like is the cost. So we've got another one to do down here. We're gonna get it drug up here to the drive and lay our plastic out and knock that one out. Here we go. All right, y'all, here's what we're picking up at Lowe's. 3 mil, 10 by 20 feet plastic sheeting, typically found in the paint section, 250 square feet. There's one thing that I didn't explain earlier, and you may or may not have noticed in the video, that when I wrap these things, you start with them upside down, right? So this lid sits on the ground. When you start wrapping at that point, then what that does is it gives you a nice flat surface here on the top, and all of your creases are angling down. So any rain that collects in here, runs down the side, gets in these folds, will automatically drain down and on out. It won't pull in here, it won't cause this black plastic to start blowing out like a water balloon. It's so much easier to do it that way and will last long term than, you know, say just wrapping it hodgepodge or on the side or whatever. That's it, y'all. Y'all hang out, we got some other stuff to do. Now we've also got another project ongoing. However, some things have happened. Now you're not going to be able to tell this because I've got my boots on, but down here, this ankle is about twice the size of this ankle. I spent about 3 hours in the ER last night getting it x-rayed. It was not broken, so luckily it's just a soft tissue sprain, strain, and it should heal a whole lot faster than a broken bone. However, it still hurts. It might as well be broke as bad as it hurts. I mean, it is just miserable, miserable, miserable. I wish this on nobody. See that ladder laying on the ground right here? That ladder was up right about here. I was on that ladder. Then the ladder decided to go there while I was on the ladder. As a result, this is what we got to help us get around. But this here, that's gonna have to wait because there will be no ladder climbing to get this roof done in the foreseeable future. However, I do need to, at a minimum, run a stringer across all these rafters here because they are just toe-nailed, toe-screwed in down here to our header. And if wind catches that, it's just gonna blow that right off one direction or the other and rip it right out of the corners here. So I need to get something up here to stabilize at least this back one. So let the shenanigans begin, I guess. Injury makes the simplest things a chore, but I do believe it should have enough support up there now to hold up against most winds. If we get a big line of storms that comes in and it gets up probably above 30 miles an hour, it may just rip them all down. That's the best I can do. It's going to have to do for now at least. I imagine most of y'all watch Pete at Just a Few Acres and probably Farmer Tyler Ranch and some of the others. If you don't, you should definitely go check them out. I will say when I watch their videos, some of my favorite videos to watch are the mowing videos, and some of my shots in those mowing videos are aerial footage or drone shots of, you know, what they've accomplished and what they have left to do, and just showing the progress. In the past, I've done that. However, the drone doesn't fly when it looks like this. In a video last fall, maybe, I'll put a card up here at the top if YouTube will let me, I crashed this thing into a tree. It's supposed to have 360-degree sensors on it, obstacle avoidance, but apparently when there's no leaves on the trees, it doesn't necessarily pick up the obstacle of a small limb or a twig sticking out. Hit the twig and on down it went and broke it. Now, I've done videos since then with this. When we put our electricity in back here, I did some drone footage of that, and I've done some other drone footage here and there along the way. Now, what you probably can't tell on here is that this whole arm was super glued. Now, these arms are designed to be collapsible here on these hinges, and I super glued this one, and of course that put it in a fixed position. Even though it was in its case, at some point in time it got bumped and broke the super glue. So the part that you just saw was filmed several weeks ago before I did the last mowing video. Certainly when I mow, I like the aerial footage. I like to watch the aerial footage when other people mow. But things happen. Like my ankle, the drone went kaput. So I sent the drone off to a place in, I think it's Miami, Florida, called Drone Nerds. And Drone Nerds is, I don't know if they're authorized repair center for DJI drones, but I looked at their website, really didn't know anything about them up until then. They've got a YouTube channel, and they do like some trade shows and stuff for their industry, so they seem to be a somewhat reputable company. I thought, well, I'm gonna send them my drone, which was $1,000, and then the bill to get it repaired was another 500-ish bucks, so we're at $1,500 basically that I've given them in hopes that the drone comes back. You know, they could have taken the drone, I guess, and sent me a fake bill and taken the money and then just disappeared. Didn't think that would happen, but these days and times, unfortunately, you just never know. So we got our drone back yesterday, and we're going to unbox this thing and see how it looks. They were supposed to send the broken parts back with it. I wanted to see the gimbal and what that looked like for sure. The one dangly arm, I knew what that looked like. I had kind of hodgepodged it together and was able to use it some before it finally just broke off again, and it was beyond glue at that point. So let's open this up and see what we got. Looks like it's pretty well packed in there. There. A couple of little packages here. You can see they put it in a separate bag with an X on it. These are going to be the broken parts. That's the old rotor arm that broke. There's the old gimbal. They said there was a crack in it. Oh yeah, crack right here. And it wouldn't have shown up on camera at any point in time, I don't think, in the past, but this thing, using the old one here, it would just kind of quiver. I don't know how else to describe it. It would just kind of quiver in place and make a weird humming noise, which made me think that there was something wrong with the motor. So they just replaced the whole unit. Looks like these are just a couple of O-rings or gaskets. They're soft rubber. So I sent them the controller. They asked for that so that they could test fly it after they made the repairs. So there was nothing wrong with the controller, so there should be nothing wrong with it again. Yeah, looks exactly the same as when I sent it. No scratches, no nothing. Still good shape. Alright, moment of truth on this gizmo. Yeah, looks brand spanking new. I don't know if it'll show on the camera. You can see here, this old arm has got some dirt on it. This one here is nice, shiny. Well, not really shiny. Nice and clean, I guess I should say. So this is going to be the brand new arm here. Yeah, looks good. Alright, so here's the old gimbal. Alright, if you take a close look at how that layout is there on the front with the lens and this stuff here on the side. This is the gimbal they replaced it with. So you can see they're not exactly the same. My assumption is this is still a 4K camera, at least it better be. I've got batteries charging up for this thing, and as soon as we've got one good enough to go, we're going to give it a test fly, make sure everything works correctly, and then check out this new gimbal here as well, make sure it functions correctly. Well, I reckon just about everyone out here has had their fill of watermelon. Most of them are pecking at the ground looking for little rocks and grit to help digest all that watermelon. They sure did enjoy it. I'm surprised they didn't finish it off. I imagine if it's still there in the morning, when they come out of the eggmobile, they'll come right onto it and knock it on out. We've got about 5 minutes until the sun goes completely down, and most of these birds will start moseying their way into the eggmobile and call it a day. And I'm going to tell you what, it's that time. I'm going to call it a day too. Y'all have a good one.